So in this series we have been talking about bond pricing, investment in the bond. So mostly we talk about two things broadly speaking. First is bond pricing, which means how much price we have to pay when we are investing in bond. So there are certain measures or approaches through which we can calculate the bond prices, right? So in addition to that, there is second thing that once you have invested in bond, you will be interested in computing the return on monies that you have invested in bond. Or this boils down to computing the yield measures, right? So how much earning or return you have made on your investment in bonds. And broadly speaking, there are six measures which are very effective, or which are very popular, I should say, and are measured and discussed often when you are a bond investor. First is YTM, that is your yield to maturity. And second, we will talk about it in this learning is current yield. Third, we will talk about is EFF, which is known as effective annual rate. And then we will also talk about BEY, bond equivalent yield, yield to put, and yield to call. So we have a lot to cover here. So let us start. First of all, we will talk about yield to maturity and current yield, and also effective annual rate. Let us start with the calculation of YTM, yield to maturity. This implies that you are understanding or you are calculating the yield or your return if you hold the bond all the way till its maturity. So what would be your return or yield? That is yield to maturity. Now, in order to calculate this, when you are reading a situation, either this bond may be, for which you are trying to calculate YTM, may be an annual coupon paying bond, or it may be a semi-annual coupon paying bond. So you may be in one of these situations. So let us first talk of annual coupon paying bonds. And this is the scenario, and let us do ITM calculation for this. The YTM calculations would require this piece of information. So this bond has a face value at which it matures in 10 years, and that is $1,000. So first of all, let us clear the display of the calculator and also clear the TVM row of the calculator so that nothing is in the memory of the calculator. And let us now go into the calculations. $1,000 would be the future value for this bond, annual coupon paying bond, right in front of us. And 10 would be, of course, the N. So coupon rate is 9%, which is paid annually. So 9% of 1,000 would be $90, which goes in payment. And the market price of the bond is $1,100. So if you go and purchase this, you will have to have an outflow of $1,100 or $1,100, I should say. So this is going into the present value, and we will compute the IY. This is the YTM of this bond, 7.54% approximately. The exact number is on calculator here. So we have done this calculation for annual coupon paying bond, and we calculated its YTM. Let us now move to the other situation or scenario when you have a bond and it is paying coupons semi-annually. So in this situation, let us clear the display of the calculator and also clear the memory of the calculator. Second, clear TVM. So 1,000 is future value for this bond on right hand side. Maturity is 20 years, and since it is a semi-annual coupon paying bond, therefore 20 times 2 is equal to 40. There are 40 semi-annual periods that would go as N. and coupon is 10%, so 10% of $100 is $10, but semi-monthly it would be 5, so PMT is 5, and the market value of this bond is $86, so 86 is something you have to invest today, so it would be outflow of the cash. It goes as present value of this bond, and we will compute the IY, and this 5.92124% is the YTM of this bond that pays coupon semi-annually. So these YTM calculations are the most popular yield measure that we are asked to calculate, but in addition to that we have certain other yield measures that we calculate, and let us now switch our discussion to current yield. Current yield of a bond is annual cash coupon payment that we receive as an investor, and if we divide those by the price of the bond that we paid, that would be our current yield. So let us calculate current yield for this bond, which is 5% and 3-year bond whose price is $93.19. And so for this bond we have to get the annual cash coupon payments. So this bond pays 5%, so $100 times 5% of course is $5, right? So now this $5 is annual return or yield that we have received, and we will divide simply it by the bond price that is paid to purchase this bond, 93.19, and this is the return or current yield, and if we want it in percentage terms we have to multiply it with $100, so 5.36538% is the current yield for this bond. So that is current yield of this bond. But in order to understand it in comparison of YTM, let us go to the same timeline. So basically what it means is that current yield is more like a money that we made from this bond in the current year. So this is what we did when we did the calculation. So basically our calculations were like this, that when we were calculating the current yield, we just in the numerator wrote down the dollar value of the coupon amount that we received from this bond. And this coupon amount is annual or yearly we can say. So these annual yearly payments that we received goes in the numerator, and then we clearly divide it by the bond price that we paid to purchase this bond, and times 100 when we want to make this as a percentage. So this is how we calculate the current yield, which is like a current year return on money invested in the bond. So as we said that effective annual rate for an annual coupon paying bond would be same as its YTM, but it won't be same. Effective annual rate would be actually little greater than YTM when the bond pays semi-annual coupons. So effective would be greater than YTM. How come this thing happens? Because this bond, for example, has a YTM of 5%. Now this is effectively 2.5% for first period, semi-annual period, and 2.5% for second semi-annual period. So in order to find the effective annual rate, we have to do what? 1 plus 2.5%. And the whole of that is in exponent of 2 minus 1. This is what we will do. So this comes out to be 1.025 squared minus 1. And let us do this number on calculator. Let us clear the screen. Second clear TVM. 1.025 y raised to x 2 is equal to minus 1 is equal to this number. If we want the answer in percentage, let us times it with 100. So the effective annual rate is actually more than 5, and it is 5.06250. So effective annual rate is 5.06250%. So effective rate has a kind of a periodicity of 1, so that is why it is slightly higher than YTM in case of semi-annual coupon paying bond. But interesting thing is that this calculation can also be done through the inbuilt iConvert function here in the BA2 Plus calculator, and it is a second function on 2. So we will go to second and go to 2. So they are asking for nominal rate. So this is something from previous calculation. So if you have to clear that, we will do second and clear work, and then second and quit. So this will clear any number that are sitting in the memory of the calculator from the previous calculation. Once they are gone, let us now go to these calculation again, second iConvert function. So nominal rate. So this 5% is nominal rate. So 5, enter. So this gets entered into nominal rate. We go down, press downward arrow, effective rate. This is what we are trying to compute. We will come back to that. Down arrow, it is asking for CY. So the compounding frequency for semi-annual period is of course 2 by y. So I mean 2. So CY by C by y would be 2. So let us enter this number and come back to effective rate. So this is what we are trying to calculate, and we click compute, and we got this number, interestingly 5.06250, which is the same number that we calculated through this manual formula as well. So effective annual rate of semi-annual paying coupon bond is little greater than YTM. So you can either calculate it through BA2 Plus calculator using second iConvert function in BA2 Plus professional version, or you can use this formula to calculate this number. The same way you can do the calculations for quarterly numbers as well. Okay, let us try these calculations for quarterly compounding this time. So here our formula is given 1 plus 1.25% exponent 4, right? Because there are 4 quarters in a year, and this 5 is divided into 4 quarters, so it comes out to be 1.25%. So this number now we have is 1 plus 1.25%, which gives us 1.0125 exponent 4. So y raised to x 4 is equal to minus 1, and this is the number. But if you want answer in percentage, so times 100. So this is that effective annual rate. So quarterly coupon paying bond at 5% YTM has effective annual rate of 5.09453. So this is now calculated here. We have this number. The same of course can be calculated using iConvert function. So we will clear the display, and let us go back to second iConvert function. So there are some numbers already sitting from last calculation here. The only override, this nominal rate is correct, 5%. The only thing we have to change is here the CY. So in quarterly compounding, CY would be 4. So 4 and enter. So compounding frequency is 4. And now if we go to this effective rate and click compute again, so we get this number of 5.09453, which we calculated through manual formula as well. So in this learning we talked about YTM, we talked about current yield, and we also talked about effective annual rate. In the next learning we will talk about bond equivalent yield, yield to put, and yield to call. Thanks for joining.